Hold the ball.
So here turned into a little bit of a sticky one still. So let's rewind time and see where it started. So cakes, they're delicious, they're tasty, and they're sweet. So as this is a food channel primarily, I thought let me try and actually bake a cake. You know, they're not the easiest things to do. I won't even lie. And anytime I try to make a cake, they've always flopped. If I want to make a cookie, it comes out like a cake. If I want to make a cake, the thing looks like a pancake, innit? So I thought, as a new guy to baking, let me record this and see how it comes out. So without further ado, I hope you enjoy me failing and trying to make and bake a cake. So the first step is to find a cake that we'd want to bake. So I was scrolling on my YouTube shorts and TikTok or whatever, and I found inspiration from this. It's a Tom Cruise coconut cake. It looks luscious, it looks decadent, it looks rich. Everything you'd want in a cake, innit? But unfortunately, there's just one thing.
I don't think you have the facilities for that, big man.
So basically, I just don't have the facilities for this recipe. You know, it requires a bundt cake container. As well as that, I need sour cream and coconut extract. And the cake costs $125. Not to mention, this cake is sold all the way in the US, which is like 12 hours away, as you can see, or 11 hours away, whatever. So what I decided to then do is I looked on Google, found this recipe from this website. The link of it will be in the description, and I decided to try and follow it. Edited a couple bits. It might not be to the T, but it is what it is. We'll learn from our mistakes in this video, as you will see, and you'll see the mistakes I made, and we learn from it. And I think that's the whole point of this whole video, isn't it? But hopefully you guys will enjoy it and you'll get a laugh out of it. You have fun. You'll pick up some tips and tricks. Hopefully, if it works out. I don't know. It might not. Okay, I need to stop yapping. But yeah, enjoy the video. Okay, so first things first, make sure your hygiene is good. Wash your hands, and then here's some of the ingredients. And all the ingredients will be in the description down below. And let's go on to the rest of the video. Okay, so the first thing here, weigh out 288 grams of self-raising flour. The reason why I use self-raising flour is because it already has baking soda or baking powder, whichever one. So the cake will generally rise. The only thing I advise is to do it in a smaller bowl instead of what I used here. And then after this, for step 2, add a little teaspoon of salt. This just helps balance out the sweetness. You know, you don't want your cake to be too sweet. In fact, the salt can actually help enhance the flavor of the cake, so it's quite an essential step. So for step 3, weigh out 227 grams of room temperature butter. Now this step is very important because you'll see in the next couple clips why I messed up on this step and it was very hard for the next couple clips. So make sure it's room temperature. You know, take out the fridge at least 40-45 minutes before you begin your procedure of making the cake, so then it's easier to mix stuff around in, basically. So yeah. So after this, in the same bowl, make sure that you add 330 grams of light brown sugar. So what you can do is just press tear or the 0 option on your weighing scale and then add it to the same container. We have 330 grams of brown sugar. And I thought I'd just give a big shout out to the electrical whisk. Very clutch baking tool.
Hold the ball.
Oh shit, here we go again.
So as you see in the previous clip, because I didn't use room temperature bar, it was very hard to try using an electrical whisk. It even got stuck in there, so I had to use a fork and whisk it around for ages then before I could then finally use an electrical whisk. So if you use room temperature bar, you can completely avoid this step. The electrical whisk will be fine. In fact, it will be amazing. So just make sure it's room temperature bar before anything, and then you would have a much easier time than I did. Having to use a fork to whisk it first, and then I had to then use an electrical whisk. So I pretty much had to do 2 steps when I could have easily done it just in one, essentially. So yeah, just make sure it's room temperature bar, please. So here I'm just showing that the bar cream is been whisked to it's very fluffy and airy. You know, because if it's fluffy and airy, it will make sure the cake in the end is nice and fluffy and airy and not too dense, because nobody really wants a dense cake. And then after this, make sure you separate the egg whites from the egg yolks into a different bowl. So as you can see, I'm putting the egg yolks inside of the buttercream mix, and then I'm putting the egg whites in a whole different bowl.
Moments later.
So you're meant to whisk the egg whites until they form nice stiff peaks, which you're going to see in this clip right here. But actually what ended up happening is that they never formed, and they just kept looking like an egg white scramble. Now, there's a couple of reasons for why this happened. One, when you're whisking your egg whites, make sure that the container's clean, the electric whisk is clean, and everything else is clean. Because essentially, I think as soon as you start incorporating other stuff into it, like flour, butter, etc., that was already on the whisk and in the container, essentially messes up the whole process. So I never ended up getting those stiff peaks, which is very annoying because I wanted to really get nice stiff peaks from the egg whites, because that incorporates more airiness into the cake, so it will end up making a more fluffy, light cake rather than a more dense one. The cake still came out alright, as you will see in the end, but I feel like these last two mistakes I've made, if you don't do them, your cake will even turn out a lot better. But anyway, it is a learning process, so let's go to the next step. Okay, for this step, essentially, in that bowl with the buttercream mix is where I'm going to add a lot of the other ingredients. So, you know, for example, we had the egg yolks there that were whisked in. We had the full fat coconut milk. This one I add some nice coconut flavor to it because I couldn't get any coconut extract. So like I said, I didn't really follow the recipe verbatim. As well as this, I added some coconut shreddings to the mix as well. That provides a nice little texture difference, you know, a little bit of a crunchy difference, and as well enhances the coconut flavor. So add all of these other ingredients to the buttercream and egg yolk mix, and then go on to then whisk it with the electric whisk, or you can use a fork or anything else. Just whisk it around, get it nice and incorporated, and we'll move on to the next step. So for step 8, add 3 tablespoons of vanilla extract to the buttercream mix, or you can do more or less depending on how strong of vanilla taste you want. I do like a lot of vanilla, so that's why I put 3 tablespoons in the buttercream mix. Okay, so we'll come to the near end of the process now. So for step 9, just whisk again all the ingredients together, get them nice and incorporated, everyone mixing up, having fun together in the bowl, and do that again with an electric whisk. Again, you can use fork, knife, whatever you have to mix, and then we'll go to the next step. So for step 10, go on to then butter or oil up, or just lubricate the baking tray or pan just to stop the cake from sticking once it's baked. And then as well, at the same step, I'd also recommend to preheat your oven to the required temperature. And then gradually add your flour to the wet mix and just fold it in gently, not too many heavy folds, and then we'll go on to the next step. Okay, so now we're on to the next step, and one of the final few steps before we place it into the oven. So make sure you empty out the mixture into a nice oiled up or buttered up baking dish or tray, and just make sure you spread it nicely within the tray. You know, everything's nice and incorporated, everyone's having fun together, and it's all good and nice. And then after that, you'll be ready to then place it into the oven and bake your creation. One thing I would say as well about the previous step, just make sure that when you fold in the flour, fold it in gently and nicely, and not too many heavy folds. This helps to incorporate the airiness and fluffiness of the cake. And then place it into the oven and bake it for 160 degrees Celsius for 30 to 35 minutes until it is well done and cooked. So here we're just making a cream cheese icing or frosting. Just add 2 lots of cream cheese to a container, add some ice and sugar, vanilla extract, and some coconut cream. This is the container we use, so I use 2 of these. Make sure it's full fat and mix it together, and then you can then incorporate it on top of the cake or inside the cake once the cake is now done. A quick tip here, as we're cutting the cake, is if you want to use a toothpick or a bar knife, poke inside the middle of the cake, pull it out. If it comes out clean, the cake is cooked. If it doesn't come out clean, then the cake is not cooked, and put it back in the oven for like a couple more minutes. So as you can now see, we have now finished baking the cake. It's looking quite decent, a little bit burnt around the edges, but you know, home cooked stuff don't have to look perfect. It just has to taste good, isn't it? So here we're just cutting the cake. I was planning on adding the icing to the middle of the cake and on top of the cake. And
Oh my giddy aunt! Oh my giddy aunt!
That feels so perfect. So as you can see at the last bit of that clip, which is a mad L, is that the top half of the cake split in half. But like I said, the main thing is as long as the cake tastes good, and this is a general thing for any homemade stuff you make, as long as it tastes good and whoever you're serving it to, they enjoy it, you enjoy it, that's what matters. As long as the hygiene's patterned, that is good, then everything is calm. And you learn from your mistakes. I've learned from a lot of mistakes from this video, and I think overall it turned out good. It wasn't too bad. As you can see in the last picture of the cake, because the camera died, it came out alright. It came out decent. It wasn't too bad, didn't it? So that's what matters. So hopefully my main aim is that throughout this series, if it turns into a series, my baking will get a lot better, cooking will get better, and you guys will be along with me in the journey. So thank you for watching the video and have a nice day. Peace.